Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and it is day 2 of the 5th Annual Global Education Conference. Jennifer Russell is here. And Jennifer, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. We express huge appreciation to iEARN USA, and Jennifer here works for iEARN. I'll do a short intro for her in a moment, and to the Global Campaign for Education, and to these fine organizations who have supported our efforts this year. We really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference. Thanks to them all. Those of you who are participating live now get a chance to indicate where you are in the world. Look to the left of the map for the star icon. It's part of a set of tools. You click on it twice, and then you click on the map. Put a shout out in the chat. Let us know the time, the temperature, the weather, anything else you want to tell us about where you are. Look at that lineup on the East Coast. Okay, I'm going to move us forward to give Jennifer as much time as we can, but I do want to tell you briefly about her. Jennifer is a program manager at iEARN USA, and she supports both physical and virtual exchange grant programs, including the Chris Stevens Youth Network, a virtual exchange program connecting educators and students in the U.S., Middle East, and North Africa. In this role, she designs resources, trainings, and online courses for teachers and youth to increase their technology and cross-cultural collaboration skills. Jennifer, thanks for being here. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Steve. It's my pleasure to be here today. I am joined by Kathy Boziak from Lincoln, North Carolina, who you also perhaps see on the video screen. Also with me, I do have one of our coordinators and educators from Algeria who's going to be sharing. There's unfortunately some network issues, so she's on Skype. We're doing a little bit of a side-by-side computer action here today, so no strangers to making difficult connections. I'll let Hyra, can you say hello?
Hello, from Algeria.
Great, and I hope you can hear her okay as we move through the presentation as well. She'll be sharing about a project a bit later. So great, the three of us are very happy to be sharing with you today about this special exchange that we've done to connect classes. Again, it's through the Chris Stevens Youth Network. It's connecting classes in the U.S. with the Middle East and North Africa. And these educators are going to be sharing a bit about some projects that they've done to connect students to work together on content in their curriculum, but also to build relationships and friendships with one another. And we also do have Nares from Tunisia who will be popping in and out. She's another educator on the program and is also having a bit of a connection challenge. So we're going to try to have her pop in as well. And if it doesn't work out, then maybe she can follow along on the chat box as well. So again, we do have kind of a spattering of people from other countries, but always a connection challenge, so we'll work around it. All right, just to give you a bit of an overview of where we're headed today, I'm going to share a bit about iEARN and the Chris Stevens Youth Network model. Again, this is just a program that has been connecting classes together to work on global projects. Then really the best way to learn about these kind of projects to connect youth is to hear some stories. So we're going to have some stories from Algeria about YouthCan, which is an environment project connecting youth around the world. If our participant from Morocco ends up popping in, we'll hear about a civics project. If not, I think I'll probably be able to share for him. And then Kathy Boziak is in the house and is going to share about solar cooking, so another kind of environment-focused project. And at the end, we're going to have kind of a panel discussion about project impacts that they've seen, for themselves, for students, and then some of the outcomes. So that's where we're headed today. And again, feel free to put any questions in the chat box as we go along. We certainly do encourage discussion, and we'll pause and answer your questions as we go. Okay, so iEARN, we are the International Education and Resource Network in 140 countries around the globe, connecting youth, teachers, and classes to do global project-based learning. One of the special projects that we've had over the past 2 years is called the Stevens Youth Network, and this is a program to connect specifically classes in the U.S. with classes in the Middle East and North Africa. And the whole point is to build leadership skills, technology skills, and of course increasing communication between those regions. So through this program that's sponsored by the State Department's Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, we've done trainings with teachers, done online courses and workshops to help prepare people to use technology to connect and work on global projects. So this is our second year doing this. Kathy and Hyra have been with us since year 1, so we're going to hear about some of their projects that they did to connect their students in with other classes. Okay, and the main component, of course, of this is the projects. So for these exchanges, it's very important to have youth connecting around a certain issue or a project. That way there's a context to their connection. With the Stevens Youth Network, we've had 8 project themes. So as you'll see here, from peace education, health, environment, empowering girls, all projects based around global issues that we face around the world. So youth in the U.S. can talk about something locally that's affecting their environment, but connect in perhaps with Algeria and hear about the environment issues that they're facing. And these are all very much tied to the curriculum of the classes. So starting with what the curriculum requires locally, which is again very different across country. But if it's the Common Core state standards that you have to teach by, looking at those standards and then connecting it to a bigger global issue. So all of the projects that have been happening between these regions have been first embedded in the curriculum, and then we look for intersection points. And the teachers kind of decide and work together and design projects that fit all of their needs across all the countries. And of course, giving the students the voice as well to determine what they're interested in. And then they decide what the project is going to be. And usually there's some sort of final product to that, a display of learning, whether it's a video they produce, a solar cooker that they build, a presentation that they give. There's a final product that they'll work together and give each other feedback, communicate about, and do all of the planning steps together to reach. So we'll hear about a few examples of final products a bit later. And of course, all of these projects, not only do they relate to one of these global issues, but they relate to the iEARN question of all iEARN projects is how will this project improve the quality of life on the planet? So engaging youth to talk to each other and work together on meaningful projects that will make contributions both locally in their own communities, but then also globally when they connect together. Okay, and so we're working on project-based learning, but also communicating the whole time and building relationships and connecting online. So this is a still of the iEARN Collaboration Center, which is the space, it's the platform where all of the projects take place. So there's classes all over the world that will post messages, engage in the initial discussions of, sharing ideas and brainstorming what they're going to work on, and then connecting, building relationships, and then eventually working towards that final product that they're going to present and share with one another. So all of these happen in the Collaboration Center, and it is an asynchronous space, so that way if the time difference, if you're connecting with Tunisia or with Taiwan, you don't have to be online at the same time to work together. You can leave messages and get back to each other and check on different times. That's for the online collaboration. And really the best way to get a picture of this is to hear some great examples. So I'm going to turn it over to Hyra. Hyra, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. Hyra's at a disadvantage here because she cannot see the slides that I'm showing, so I'm kind of going to go back and forth. Hyra's going to share about Youth Can, which is a project connecting youth about the environment. She's going to talk a bit about the projects in general, and then specifically in Algeria, what the students have done and how they've connected out with the world. So, Hyra, I have a few slides for you, and I think I might stop you and explain things that are showing up on the screen as we go. But maybe first,
Okay.
do you want to introduce yourself and say something about yourself?
Yes. Hello. My name is Hyra. I am from Algeria. I am a country coordinator for iEARN Algeria, and I have been working with iEARN since 2009. I started as a participant on the online course. I got the scholarship twice. Then I became an online course facilitator in 2011, and in 2012 I joined iEARN officially as a country coordinator. Well, I have been coordinating the Christopher Youth Network for 2 years, and I worked with about 15 schools. In the first year, 8 schools, and the second 7 schools. In each school, I could engage 2 to 3 teachers who engage 6 students per group, and they work on different project topics, dealing with global issues and related to the curriculum, the national curriculum of English in Algeria. And by the end of each academic year, I invited all the groups to my host school where I work, where students gave presentations in different forms, an oral presentation, a play, poems, songs, and even actions within our society. One of the most remarkable projects was Youth Can, because it started on April 2013, and it has been followed by the new participants. So the first class was in 2013. The group was made just of 6 students. They had the opportunity to work with Tunisia Environmental Association, whose members are retired educators of science, mathematics, and physics. So these educators came to visit our school to give a conference about the underwater environment. Then they invited our students to their office to teach them more about the underwater environment. And finally, they worked in collaboration with primary school students to clean a coastal area. So that was the first project of Youth in Algeria. The second one was about recycling from classroom to community. And this topic was an inspiration from the high-level conference that they attended at the level of the Ministry of the Environment. So they attended the conference given by members from the United Nations and even organized by Arnold Schwarzenegger, special program for the environment and in our city. So students had the opportunity to attend the conference to meet factories that recycle different products. And they even learned some new subjects of studies about the environment. What was more amazing last year, was that one of the students insisted or expressed her wish to attend the World Conference in New York. So before she had prepared, Naila prepared her work with her team, as they gave presentations in front of different schools, in front of their schoolmates. They were even invited by the local radio to raise awareness of the community. And then Naila went to New York, where she attended the conference and gave the presentation. Back to Algeria, she shared with other schools and with her schoolmates, and the project had great impact on the health community, schools, teachers, parents, and even the local authorities. So the last event of CSYN Algeria was today, launching the third class preparing for the project 2015. And we have even been invited by the US Embassy, and they are coming to meet the students and the other teachers who contributed by Thursday, if everything is all right.
Thank you so much, Haira. As you were speaking, I was showing photos and putting up the description of some of the projects you were talking about that youth are working on and connecting on about the environment. So it had some of the recycling, the renewable energy, and those other projects that you're speaking about. And then actually I'm going to advance to the next slide where your student Nayla is sharing in New York at the CSYN Algeria conference. Excuse me, CSYN conference as a representative of CSYN Algeria. Yes. So before we move on over to the next project, would you like to say anything else about the connections that students make through CSYN, about whether through conferences and connecting with other youth or online connecting with other youth from other countries?
Well, it was not so quick relationship, but at least they are connected. We have the group on Facebook. They could get connected, and especially Nayla, who was there, so she had more opportunities to meet CSYN members. And actually now we are occasionally trying to collaborate with different students, and mainly Catholic students. And what we did last time was the Think Pink, the day of breast cancer awareness. So we simply wore pink t-shirts, we took photos, and then we shared them together. And this is how we feel that we belong to the global community, and we can have easy access to the whole world with no limit. And the truth is now that I cannot get connected to the Blackboard collaboration, but I am attending the conference and giving my part of presentation.
Great.
So we are challenging any situation.
Great. Thank you so much. Haira, I'm going to keep you on the line for after the other projects, so we can do the discussion part at the end and talk more about your experience and your students' experience.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move forward to the next section, and unfortunately Omar was also having, Kathy, you're up next. I have Kathy's slides loaded about solar cooking, so same thing, another project example from North Carolina this time.
Can you hear me okay?
Take it away. Perfect.
Okay, awesome. Like Jen said, I'm from North Carolina, and I am a science teacher that isn't anything any special or any more fabulous than anybody else, so this is something that anybody can do and become successful at it, so I kind of want to predicate that before I get going. I am in Lincolnton, North Carolina, which is a little bit off-center from the middle of the state, not quite in the mountains, but closer to the mountains than the center of the state. My students range from grades 9 through 12, and I cross over a lot of different science disciplines. The two courses that I particularly do the solar cooking in are the astronomy class and my earth science class. So I have two groups working right now on the projects. One is an older section of students, and one is 9th graders. So, are you moving slides, or am I? Awesome. Okay, so just a little bit of a background on what the solar cooking project is. It's a project-based learning activity that is going to ask the students to incorporate 21st century skills. And if you are an educator, you've heard all of that jargon before, but what that gets down to, bottom line, is that we're producing students that are ready for business world and college challenges. So that's kind of why I like what we're doing. It is fun. They enjoy designing things immensely, and you'll see some slides at the end where some of their projects are on the slides. It's very creative. There's not a single project that comes out the same. And it ties the students in with other students of their ages around the world. It allows me to meet other educators and learn from them, because I don't think you can ever stop learning. A couple of the countries that we've worked with, and this is just a few, the list was quite long. Iran, Syria, we're working with a class in Taiwan right now. Obviously the United States, Australia, Qatar, Belarus. Hyra and I have decided that we're going to be working on a project together, so that's going to be a good challenge. And it allows them to do online sharing and collaboration in a safe and controlled forum. You know, as technologically savvy as some of the students think they are, when you get them into a lab and they have to try and share and blog, they're not necessarily quite as comfortable as you would think they are. And so this gives them the opportunity to practice those skills and not feel like they're in a threatened situation. So why should you be part of this project? Before I show you some of the stuff that the kids did, it's going to empower your students. It's going to allow you to be a facilitator instead of feeling like you have to teach all the time. They're going to learn about alternative energy without lectures, without feeling like it's being drilled into their heads. It's going to let them learn about themselves, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and other students around them, and it's going to make them understand that maybe they're not quite so isolated as they think they are in their small towns. It's going to allow your students to design and own their projects. There's a big difference between giving them an assignment and saying, I need you to do this by tomorrow. They're going to do it because they feel like they need to do it, but it's not theirs, you know, and this makes it their project. This is their cooker. They designed it. And it's going to allow them to own the results as well. You know, did it turn out well because they did something right? Did it turn out well because of the weather? And it's fun and safe. It will create meaningful, content-driven, globalized project that really does work and really does get your students involved. Waiting on the side, Jen. Okay, so my interpretation of the project, and again, the nice thing about iEARN projects is that you can put your own interpretation on it. You can take parts out, you can put parts in. But my students were given the driving question, how can you use the power of the sun to create the best s'more ever? Now, that created a little bit of a problem with some of the students that we were talking with in other countries because they didn't know what a s'more was. So that gave them the opportunity to explain what a s'more was and then maybe learn something about what some of the other students were going to be cooking around the world. And that's just a very subtle cultural thing that was kind of neat to watch. My students are allowed to design their cookers out of things that they have, you know, that they don't have to go spend a lot of money on. Boxes, cardboard boxes, black paint, styrofoam, aluminum foil, saran wrap or plastic wrap. If they happen to have mirrors or, you know, borrow cooking pans from their moms, they can put in thermometers if they want to, just about anything. For us, we start, it's a semester-long project, and we start in August or we start in January, depending on the semester, and they'll do an initial test. I will give them the supplies to make the s'mores with graham crackers and marshmallows and chocolate, and their goal is to melt the parts and make them into this really gooey sort of tasty treat. They continue for 18 weeks, and they look at how can I make the cooker better, what's working, what's not working, and then they have to also take and change from just melting chocolate and heating something up to actually trying to cook something. And if any of you are around on Friday, some of my students will be talking about some of the cooking that they've done, and it's really pretty impressive. And then what I do is I do a final assessment that's both by me and the student. My part of it is more of a feedback. Because how do you you can't say your design is wrong. Can you justify your design? Did it work the way you wanted? Did you keep track of all of the bits and pieces of relevant information? Their assessment becomes, how did I do? You know, did I accomplish what I really wanted to accomplish? Did I work well with other people? Did I talk to other people? And that becomes very relevant and very worthwhile for them because, again, it's more than just me saying, okay, out of 100 points, you got 100 points, or out of 100 points, you got 90 points. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of what the kids have done. And I don't know, does my cursor work? Yeah, you can see my cursor. This is my first period class. This is the 9th graders. And they had just gotten through leaving the lab and blogging about some of the testing that they were going to be doing. They have to talk about what they've done. They have to project what they're going to do. And we ran into a little bit of a problem about 2 weeks ago when they did another test, because the temperature in North Carolina should be about 60 degrees. So what's that, high teens in Celsius? And it wasn't. It was substantially colder, and the time changed here, which meant it was much darker. So they had some big modifications to do. But you can see some of them have magnifiers. These are magnifiers. This young man actually built an entire reflector and magnifiers to go around it. This is the s'more. This is the first test of one of the s'mores, and you can see it melted quite nicely. This young lady is also testing some of her s'mores, and you'll see on the next set of slides that they've progressed from the graham crackers and the chocolate to some other things. This happens to be a pizza. They made little pizzas on bagels. Okay, so here this group was cooking pancakes. They decided that, you know, it was going to be a nice day, and they cooked pancakes, and they actually heated up quite nicely. These other pictures are some of the designs that they were working on and how they managed to do what they wanted to do. So you can see in this one, they just literally took a cardboard box, adapted it for what they wanted. This group started, and I'm not really sure what the logic behind starting with red paint was. They've since changed, but most everybody went with black paint and some sort of reflector tinfoil type situation. This is probably not as easy to see as I would like it to be, but this is one of the students' records that she had to keep in her book, and they keep a notebook with all of the documentation and all of the results in that, so that they can go back and look at that and see whether or not they've accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. And then they can also have that in front of them, so that when they do their blogging with the other groups that are involved, they've got some sort of data to go from. So the bottom line is, I'd like to collaborate with you guys out there. I'd like to see some other groups involved and see if we can't get this so that it's a little bit more stretched out than just where we are. Okay, this is the site if you are looking for the solar cooking project. If you get onto iEARN, and you can see these are all of my, not all of them, but there's like 6 pages of pictures. This is the school in Taiwan that we're communicating with. So my students will go here to the forum and they'll post, and then if they want to upload pictures, the nice part about that is that I actually have to approve the pictures. So if they do something that's a little bit inappropriate or something that's not quite what it needs to be, I don't have to approve that picture. So I can make sure that it ends up being okay. They will collaborate at the end with other schools, and they'll compare their results and see how things went.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kathy. And I did put the link into your session because the students are going,
good, okay.
And we'll put it in again at the end. The students will be sharing about this project in particular on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So that's another great product of their work, is being able to present to a global audience here at the Global Education Conference, in addition to the work that they've been doing with their peers. So thanks, Kathy. We're going to jump over to the next project, and then we're going to have some time for question and answer, and also just discussion with Kathy and with Hyra, and hopefully maybe Nara, if we can get her video or her microphone to work as well. The last project that we're going to kind of share about, and it's a pity that Omar is unable to join us. He's having technical issues, but he did put together these great slides and sent all of these photos of his students' work, so I'm going to try my best to represent it for him. So Omar Kiki is another teacher from Zagora, Morocco, which is, it's in the south of Morocco, pretty far from the coast and in the mountains. And at school, they decided to do, the youth were really interested in doing something that addressed a health issue, but also got them kind of engaged in their school community into promoting healthy living for teens. So they did the Smoke-Free School Project. And it was part of a larger iEARN project called the Civics Project. And this is, again, where students take on community issues and design a project where they're going to make a difference in their school or local community around an issue. So they make a plan, then they kind of campaign and get involved to raise awareness. So that's what the students in Morocco did as part of this larger civic engagement project. So Omar's project with his students, their particular lens was to be anti-smoking. They noticed that a lot of students at their school were taking up smoking. It's a big problem among youth in the area. And they wanted to sensitize the school about the negative effects of smoking. So again, this is, of course, a more powerful message when youth are sharing it among other youth. And not only in this case do you have youth in the school trying to promote healthy choices amongst their other classmates, but then they're also doing it globally by sharing their project with their other peers also doing these civic engagement projects. So they designed this plan for how they were going to promote this campaign in their school. And in this project, they actually ended up making a film, and they did a whole poster and brochure and video campaign to promote healthy choices in the school. So this photo here is a picture of them filming the video. And then also, here's one of their flyers about the work and the kind of different phases that they took in researching and then sharing with the school and then promoting healthy decisions. So all of these products that they were working with and steps that they took in the school were then shared online with their global peers. And so you had other peers giving them comments and feedback on the steps of the process. So, and from Omar, this is what he said, is that they were sharing the activities weekly on the forums. So again, posting messages, sharing their photos and video updates as they were developing the campaign, and getting feedback and communication from their peers. They also shared at a national summit that was held in Rabat, so they were able to present to other schools from around Morocco. And I believe I have a picture here too of them presenting. This is part of the forum. I guess here they're communicating with one of the other civics groups in Pakistan, actually, about the project and what they're doing, steps to take to attack what really is this global issue. And for those of you that are just joining, as Ed's asking here, explain what CSYN is, that is the acronym for the Chris Stevens Youth Network, and that is the program that's connecting schools in the U.S. with the Middle East and North Africa on these global projects, like the three examples you've just seen: Youth Can, Solar Cooking, and the Civics project with the Smoke-Free School campaign. So this is a program that's sponsored by the U.S. State Department to get these students communicating and working together on the global issues as you've just seen. And again, I'm sorry that Omar was unable to join us, as he did put in such good work on his slides. So hopefully you got another picture of what a project connecting youth looks like. So I did want to open it back up to the teachers that we do have with us. And Norris, I'm going to see if we can pass you the mic first if you're online and if you're able to use it and share something about your project and what your students have learned and gained from the experience as well. So we're going to test in first with Norris, who's joining us from Tunisia. I know she's been having technology issues, but we're going to see if she's able to connect. Let's see. Norris, can you still hear us?
Hello. Yes, I'm hearing. It's okay for you?
Oh,
are you hearing me?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Here I have a small problem of connection moving and down and higher. That's why I am connecting and then getting logged out, etc. And I hope it will go now. Of course, I may speak about the Future Citizen project, which seems to me the broadest project I have really went through. It's a project where pupils found themselves among their feeling as active citizens. They had they have learned a lot, not only about how to move or how to acquire the language as a new language for them, but mainly how to be active, how to change things, how to move from only recipients or receivers to be really producers, to be active in organizing conferences, to invite very important people, even from organizations or associations. They only heard about the names of the associations, like like many associations in Tunisia, like Amal, etc. Those associations are really important for them because they feel that they are near their approaches, near their ideas. They are sharing. They have worked from the beginning on how to survey their rights and duties, and they themselves organized a mini conference where they presented their rights, their duties. They have shared different ideas with different subject teachers, civics, Arabics, with parents, with other pupils from different schools. They have even invited or they have written songs, they have sung themselves, they have written postures, and step by step they started investing their efforts in producing, let me say, pretty presentations, PowerPoint presentations that they feel that they are really near the teenagers, when they use.
Did you lose audio on Nahra's there? I think I lost her on my end here. Okay. All right. I know she was having connections issues. So I'll see if I can get her connected back in. She was sharing, of course, about her project, the Future Citizen project, and it's like Omar's project, one of the projects to get youth engaged in their community. This one was particular to broader civic engagement, and the photo here is from actually a voting campaign that they did just a few weeks back to encourage young people to vote in elections. Great, and I see a...
Yes, hello again. Very sorry for that.
No problem. And it's okay, Nahra. And actually, we do have a chat in the box here, and I think maybe you can share about this photo that we have up, and you know maybe what happened in Tunisia for Making a Difference Day.
Yeah.
That we see, and what your students did in the community as part of a similar project. And I was explaining a little bit about the voting campaign, but perhaps you could share. Oh. Okay. I think we lost her again. Again, apologies for the connection. So the photo that you're seeing here is for Make a Difference Day, and many of the groups and with the projects dedicated this one day. It was in October to make a contribution to the community and to volunteer. So in Tunisia, Nahra's and the Tunisia team, working with the student groups, they did a voting campaign. And it was celebrated differently around the country. Kathy, did your group do anything for Make a Difference Day? Would you mind jumping in? Then I'll see if I can get Hyra back on the line.
Hey, yeah, actually we did. We decided to start kind of small and worked through a group that is supposed to be doing community service anyway, so it was more of an after-school kind of thing. And we decided that to give back to our community was the best way to make a difference. And what we did was we adopted the American Veterans group that's here in our town. So what we did was actually on Veterans Day, so we were a little bit behind, the MAD Day itself, but the students worked at the breakfast that was for the veterans, and then they, so for example, if you had somebody that came in that had a cane, couldn't carry everything, or was having trouble walking, or had already sat down, we just sort of took care of the veterans, and it gave the students an opportunity to give back to the community, give back to the veterans, and establish a bond, that I think is really important, because there's a lot of stories and a lot of, which ties in with Kindred Project, but a lot of stories and a lot of history that they miss out on because they don't have that connection. And so now we are actually going to be taking it a step further and have been asked in January to go to our local cemetery where veterans are buried and put flags, replace the flags that are kind of worn and tattered. And so it's growing from one small breakfast, to now something that hopefully will spread out to a whole lot more, dealing with the veterans in our community.
Awesome, thanks so much. So we've heard of kind of a lot of different project examples that are connecting youth, whether they're service projects like Make a Difference Day, whether they're environment projects like Youth Can, or solar cooking, even looking at energy sources. And I wanted to kind of have our discussion for the last 15 minutes focus on impact and what you've seen the change in your students be from doing these projects, from connecting with their peers. So I'm going to open this question to our panelists. I'm going to start with you, Kathy, because you've got the best connection. It's a two-part question. What have you learned from the experience in connecting with other educators, and what have your students learned that stuck out to you the most?
Gosh, I don't know, because I learn constantly. I'm 59 years old and I'm constantly amazed at how much I don't know. So I would say just the connection, with the other educators, and I think that's really important because it puts me in touch to be able to ask questions, that I might not be able to ask another way, or to say to the students, well, wait, I don't know the answer to that, but I know somebody that might because they live in this part of the world. Or sometimes it's even just looking at something that I thought I was doing really well, or was fabulous at, and having somebody else look at it and say, well, hey, why don't you try this and see if this works a little bit better. And so it's just from that. As far as my students, it is now 4:44 here in North Carolina, and I still have 2 students sitting here working on their solar cookers to get them ready and all spiffied up for their presentation on Friday. So I think, it's great to learn about the environment, and it's great to learn about the solar impact of what we can do to help the environment. But, I think the thing that I like the most is the change that I see in them as far as leadership and self-confidence, and the fact that they're not afraid anymore to necessarily say, hey, can I try it this way? So that's what I like the most about it.
Great, thank you for sharing. We did lose connection with Hira in Algeria. Nares, perhaps if you're there and you're able to chat, if you want to chat anything that you think has been the biggest impact for your students in doing their iEARN projects and doing a project to connect with youth around the world. I will keep my eye out and read the chats as they come in. And since Kathy, you're kind of the last connection standing here, I feel like the questions might all come to you at this point. But I do want to open up the discussion to anybody in the main room who would like to ask a question. You can either do so by just chatting in the box, or we can also pass around the microphone.
Oh, I'm game. I'm here for the duration.
Oh, great, great. And Aneha says that this is her first interactive and global conference, maybe, you know, I remember my first conference 2 years ago doing this and having similar connection issues, trying to get a group of Macedonians in and using the telephone actually so we could have voice and video. So it's always interactive. We always have our challenges to overcome, but in a way we'll find a way to share and discuss with one another. So I did have another question for Kathy, and we'll wait and see if anybody else has a question as well.
Trying to talk one of my students into saying something, but they're shy.
They're going to give the sales pitch at the end for their Friday session. My question to you is the advice part. So, you know, you've described a couple different projects actually, not only just through solar cooking, but what you did for Make a Difference Day. And I know your students are involved in many different projects that connect them with other schools around the world. So being that you're a bit of a pro now, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to get something started, who are wanting to work on a project and then do it on a global level?
Jump in with both feet. And I know that's, you know, that's an American expression. That basically just means don't be afraid to do it. There is a huge network of people that are ready and waiting to help, and all you gotta do is ask. And I think that would be the thing that I would tell somebody the most. You know, would be find something that you want to do, find something that you like, find something that excites your students, and do it. And if you run into some problems, we've all been there. We've all run into problems. And just reach out. Somebody will be there to answer the questions and to help you through it.
Great, thanks. And there's actually another one that came up in the chat box from Ed Gregor. Is what challenges did you find the most difficult to overcome? The one we're struggling with today.
You know, and even that's gotten better. I think as administrators start to see the value of providing technology that is reliable, you know, or a more up to date, that has programs that will allow us to do some of these things. You know, I think that becomes easier and easier. That's the biggest problem that I've had. The most frustrating problem is getting the kids. You know, it takes them a little while to open up when they start talking to other people, and they're a little bit hesitant, and that changes as soon as they get that first reply. So, you know, that the first part of that becomes a problem that exists only shortly, and then changes into something that, you know, blossoms into hopefully lots and lots of connections. Instructions. Wait a second, I'm trying to read here.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
Anaya, I see your question in here for Hira about how could they make different instructions to get involved in the project's challenges and coordination, motivation. We lost Hira on the connection. The network in Algeria was particularly bad tonight, and she's having a hard time connecting through Blackboard. We had her on Skype for a little bit, but we did lose her. I could send her an email with your questions if you'd like to learn more about it. Also, actually, I guess now is a good time to go over some of the different places where you can go to find more information about some of these projects and read a little bit more about what's going on. And the first one is this website up here, exchange.csyn.org. This is the site that is about the Chris Stevens Youth Network, and it has a lot of project examples and just events and activities and resources. So I think there's a new story up about the Algeria projects and highlighting YouthCan as well, so you can check it out. Going off what Kathy was talking about just getting started, there's a nice guide up for anybody looking to get started in projects. And it's a general resource for any sort of online collaboration that you're trying to do. It's about, you know, how to go through steps of project planning, using technology, preparing students to communicate and collaborate online. So there's a multimedia version of this available at guide.csyn.org. And of course, the iEARN sites. the space where all of the projects happen, collaborate.iEARN.org. But you can also follow us, hear all sorts of stories of how teachers are connecting with their students, different kinds of projects that they're working on. So I'm going to leave that slide up. And Aneha, if you'd like to send me your email, I can connect you with Hyra as well. You can send me that in the chat, and be happy to help connect you. You're also, we do have in Spain teachers connecting. So if you go to iEARN.org, you can find the link to Spain and how to connect as well. And Kathy, that's a really great point. Maybe I'll let you jump in with some last words of wisdom and advice before you round out the session.
Well, I don't know. You know, I told you I'm nothing any more special than anybody else out there. But I think that's, you know, you need to understand that we've all written the projects with our students in mind, but that doesn't mean that you can't modify something. You know, if you have dealing with solar cookers, you know, if you're in the Middle East and you've got constant sun, well, you're going to be able to do a project on a different level than I would be able to do, where I'm going to deal with winter and I'm going to deal with seasonal changes. So, you know, students there might be looking at how do we control the heat in the solar cooker, as opposed to my students that are trying to figure out how they're going to get the maximum amount of heat as we go through a semester. So, you know, don't be afraid to do that. You know, look at the projects. If it looks like something that fits your curriculum, if it looks like something that would get the kids excited, use it. Go for it. You know, make the changes and then let somebody know what changes you made, because they can be added into it and somebody else might benefit from that as well.
And Kathy, another question for you. You're coming from a school that's pretty supportive of the work you're doing with students. How important was it for you to have the administration support to do these kinds of projects, and how did that factor into your planning?
Initially, it really didn't. You know, I looked at my curriculum, I looked at what I needed to do, and the whole point was, you know, we're all getting graded on all the stuff that we do in schools, and, you know, but the bottom line is, the kids need to learn, and they need to learn not just to a test, or they need to learn not just to the standards that I'm going to be graded on. And so my goal was just to make sure that they got something out of it, and that it was something that they could own and something that they would be proud of. The more they did things, the more they presented to the groups in the community, that sort of thing. My administrators, you know, thought it was fabulous, and of course now I can pretty much, you know, any project I want to do, they'll support me. But I don't know that it's necessarily that important, unless it's a technology issue and you're trying to get some sort of, you know, supplies. It really just kind of falls back on what you do that's best for the students. And unless your administrators are just dead set against, you know, project-based learning, and then basically what you do is you get a hold of somebody that it's worked for, and you get them to talk to your administrators.
Thanks so much. And I hope everybody enjoyed joining us here at the session this afternoon. I certainly enjoyed hearing projects from Kathy and from Hyra, as well as getting to learn a little bit more about Omar's and Nawroz's process in communication and preparing for this presentation. I'm very thankful to everybody who could join us this afternoon, and we're going to have the recording that we'll share as well. And we do encourage you to follow us on whatever form of social media you use, or to check out the website, check out collaborate.iEARN.org, and to join one of the projects. And of course, the last word goes to Kathy Boziak and her students, if they have a last-minute pitch for Friday's session, where they're going to be sharing more about solar cookers. Kathy, are there any students over there who want to give their 2-minute pitch about joining Friday's session?
I don't know if it's going to be a 2-minute pitch, but they want to say something. I know that.
You need to join our session Friday at 11.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. What are you presenting about?
Our solar oven.
Perfect. I hope there are going to be some good s'mores recipes as well.
I'm not sure what they're cooking anymore. we've gone everywhere from s'mores to chicken patties to pancakes to yeah. So.
Great. So thanks everyone again, and for a more in-depth example about a project exchange, check out the Solar Cooker session on Friday featuring Kathy's students. All right, great. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Jen.